Welcome to the Medium in the Middle podcast. I'm your host, Stephanie, the medium in the middle. This podcast is going to walk you through my journey into mediumship and how I came to realize that I could communicate with souls that have passed over. My adventure started just over a year ago when unusual situations started happening to me. It wasn't until I really started to pay attention to them that it all started to come together. I wrote down everything that I was experiencing this past year in a little black book, and this podcast is going to be a recap of all of those memories leading up to where I am today in my mediumship journey. I will be releasing new episodes every Tuesday, and I recommend listening to the podcast in order, starting with episode 1, as my story will unfold more week by week. If you would like to stay connected with me, follow me on Instagram at Medium in the Middle. Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 31. We are going into my third week of quarantine. I am definitely running out of things to clean and things to snack on, as I'm sure we all are. So I am sending you all healing vibes. We will get through this. It will eventually end. And I know that it's hard when we can't see the end of the tunnel, but there will be an end of the tunnel. So hang in there, listen to podcasts, write ratings and reviews because we all have extra time on our hands. On another note, I did recently get a Medium in the Middle Facebook page. So if you don't have an Instagram account or if you just want to see the same thing twice, you can also follow me on Facebook at Medium in the Middle. All right, so before I jump into today's episode, I'm going to pull a card from the Colette Baron Reed, the Enchanted Map Oracle card deck. So I'm going to shuffle up the deck and ask the universe what we need to know right now. Because, girl, we need to know. Okay, so I shuffled up the deck and I pulled a card for me and then I pulled a card for you. And the card I pulled for the listeners is card number 8, Come Together. The card says, love needs to be shared. The description: love needs to be expressed. Drawing the Come Together card is a sign that you're on the path to discover the nature of this emotion in all its form of expression: romantic, familiar, unconditional, spiritual. In each instance, there is another being involved. Love involves a give and take between you and a significant other, a relative, a friend, an animal, and or spirit. This card assures you that love has come calling and seeks a partner in its dance. Know that you are cherished. Like a magnet, you're attracting love into your life. This is the time for harmonious, caring partnerships. I feel like this is probably something we need to hear when we're all stuck at home with our families or our loved ones or our roommates, and just remembering to come together and show patience. Because I'm sure as we head into week 3 of quarantine, we're all getting on each other's nerves. So come together. That's what you need to be reminded of today. Okay, so in today's episode, I want to talk about a Reiki experience that I had with a good friend of mine at her house when we decided to do a Reiki share. So a Reiki share is when 2 people who are attuned to Reiki get together and you do Reiki on each other. Usually the exchange is like no money is exchanged, but it's nice because you get to give Reiki and you get to get Reiki for free. So we had picked a day during the week that we were going to meet up, and we knew we were going to do a Reiki share. So when I got to her house, she has a bed, a massage bed, and we set up the massage bed and we set it up with blankets and pillows, and I saged the house and she lit candles and she got her crystals, and we set up this whole vibe to make it really nice because we knew that we were going to be using the space for a few hours and that we both needed some healing. So once we had the space all set up, nice and ready to go, we decided who should go first, and it was decided that I would go first. So her massage bed is a little bit higher than I'm used to, so I had to bend my knee to get on the bed, and as I was crawling onto the bed snapped in half. And when the bed snapped in half, it didn't just fall or one of the legs folded over. It broke, and there was these screws that were keeping the two sides of the bed together. Literally, screws went flying everywhere. There was the wooden piece that kept the two sides of the bed together cracked, so there was like shards of wood that had went everywhere. I'm laying on the ground. We both like screamed when it fell, and we were like, what the hell? Like, why did the bed just break? So we lifted up the blankets, removed all the pillows, had a look and to see what happened. And I was like, oh my gosh, like the bed is fully broken. Like it snapped in half somehow. Like the legs were still up and everything was fine with the two sides, but right in the middle where it hinged, where all the screws were, literally screws flew everywhere. There was probably like 20 screws on each side and at least half of them were out and the wood was broken. We were like, what's going on? So she starts to clean things up. I go get a broom so I can sweep up all the screws, and we were both kind of like, that's never happened before. She's like, yeah, like my bed's very sturdy. I can't believe it just broke. And I looked at her and I said, do you think we're not supposed to be doing Reiki today? And she's like, well, no, what do you mean? And I was like, I don't know, like the bed just broke. Like what other sign could we really ask for other than the bed breaking that we need to know that we shouldn't be doing Reiki today? She's like, no, I think Reiki's always good. Like it's always a good idea to be doing Reiki. And I was like, yeah, I agree, but maybe we should be doing something else today. So I had brought my pendulum with me that day and I decided that I would ask the pendulum. So I held the pendulum over the broken bed and I said, are we meant to be doing Reiki today? That's what I asked. And it gave me a strong no. And I was like to my friend, I'm getting a no. She's like, what? And I was like, yeah, I asked if we should be doing Reiki and I got a no. She's like, ask again. She's like, it doesn't make sense. Reiki's always for the greater good. And I was like, yeah, you're right. So then I asked the pendulum one more time, are we meant to be doing Reiki today? And I got an even stronger swing of no. So I turned to my friend and I said, we're not supposed to be doing Reiki today. And she said, so what are we meant to be doing? And just as she said that, it popped into my head. I said, we're meant to channel together. She's like, what? And I was like, yeah, I think that we're meant to just like sit together and channel together and see what happens. So my friend is also a Reiki master and she's very intuitive, but she doesn't trust herself. And this is something that we talk about often. So I said, what we're going to do is we're going to sit beside each other in a meditation and I'll just support you through it and see what happens. So after we cleaned up the mess of the bed and we kind of calmed down and resaged, we decided to do that. So then we decided to ask the pendulum if this was what we were meant to be doing. And I got a strong swing of yes. And I said, okay, so we weren't meant to be doing Reiki. They didn't need to break the bed, but we got the message. Now let's do this seated together channeling session. We didn't know what it was. We'd never done it before, but we just like knew this is what we had to do. So we decided to set up for that in her room by a window with all the crystals over there. So after we cleaned up the bed that broke and we set up our new station, we decided to just sit in meditation together. And neither of us had ever done like a supported channeling session, you can call it. So we didn't really know what we were doing, full disclosure. We just knew we weren't supposed to be doing Reiki and it just felt good to be kind of sitting together and see what happens. So at this time, I really felt that I needed to support my friend in this because I knew that it was something that she had to have an aha moment. And although we both didn't know what we were doing, I kind of had an idea of where I wanted this to go. So I led and said that we should both sit in meditation beside each other. And when we drop into wherever we drop into, we'll just kind of share what we see or what we're feeling. So that's what we do. We both sit down, we go into a meditation, we close our eyes, and we just start to share what we see. So the first few moments are silent, and then I drop into a scene, and I wait for her to drop into the scene. So then I start to ask questions, and I say, okay, what do you see? And she says, I can see like rocks around me and trees. And I can see that too, but I'm standing near a river and I need her to also see the river. So I tell her to lift her head up and look around and see what else she sees. So she tells me that she's having trouble lifting her head and she can't see anything else besides looking down. It's almost like she can't lift her eyes. So I said, okay, like we'll just wait. So then finally she lifts her eyes and she starts to describe what she sees. So she says there's a river on the side, there's rocks, there's trees, and she feels like she's a wolf. And I said, okay, perfect, because where I'm standing near the river, I can see her and everything she's describing, but she's not facing me, so she can't see me in this vision. So then I want her to turn around to see me, but she can't. So we're both sitting in meditation, and this continues for about 20 more minutes, where I will see something in the vision, and I'm trying to get her to see it. And she keeps asking me what I'm trying to get her to see, and I keep saying, I can't tell you, I need you to see it. So we're sitting in this meditation, and I'm saying, don't guess, just lift your head and tell me what you see. And I keep giving her the same prompt or asking her questions about what's around her to get her to realize what she's seeing. And at this point in the meditation, I realized that the whole point of us channeling is to get her to trust herself and get her to trust her intuition. So we're doing this exercise so that she isn't asking me for support. It's so that she can trust what she sees. So now I kind of know what the purpose of this is and why we're sitting in this channeling session together instead of doing Reiki. So I just sit in silence and wait for her to tell me. So for a few moments, we're sitting together in silence, and then she has the breakthrough. And after she finally trusts herself enough to stand in her power, to know what she knows and see what she sees, she starts to describe to me the scene that we're both standing in. She's able to lift her head and tell me everything. She sees me. She sees what I'm wearing. She meets one of her guides. She tells me who the different animals are, and it's this really cool experience. And at the end of it, she's like, oh my God, I get it. I meant to trust myself. She said, I couldn't lift my eyes because I was so nervous to trust in my intuition and to know what I know. And I was just sitting there smiling, and she was like, you knew that the whole time? And I just explained that I realized that it was meant for me to just support her in trusting in her own powers and in her own intuition, and that she had to come to that conclusion. I couldn't tell her what she needed to see in this supported vision that we were doing. So it was this really cool experience for both of us because we both went into it not knowing what to expect. We didn't know what was going to happen. We thought we were going to do a Reiki share, and then all of a sudden we're just sitting on the floor near a window, kind of in this shared vision, and I didn't even know that it was possible to drop into the same vision, but it was really cool to support someone else through finding their trust in their own intuition. So after the experience was over, we both knew when it was done. We kind of opened our eyes at the same time, and we looked at each other and we were like, whoa, that was cool. And I was like, I've never done anything like that before. And she's like, neither have I. And I was like, really, I didn't expect anything, and I didn't really think that it would work. But halfway through, I realized what you were meant to get out of it, and I'm really happy that this all worked out. And she's like, yeah, I feel so good, and I just realized how to trust in my intuition. I just realized how that works, how to just trust in my knowing and how to believe in everything that's already there. She's like, it really was a big aha moment for me. So after this, we were both feeling really good and still a little bit confused about the bed breaking and why we weren't meant to be doing Reiki, because as far as we know, Reiki is always good. But I think something like the bed had to break in order for us to try this new kind of experience of just sitting together in a meditative channeling state. And the support that she needed that day was actually a lesson to trust her intuition and not a Reiki session of healing. So after I went home, I did email Lois to tell her about the story and just to be like, isn't this crazy that the bed broke and we were going to be doing a Reiki share, but then we didn't end up doing a Reiki share. Have you ever heard of Reiki not being the thing to do? And Lois, in all her wisdom, said that she's not really sure how to respond to the bed breaking other than to agree that maybe Reiki wasn't what was needed for that session. And she just reminded me to always trust in my intuition and to just check in with the purity of our intentions to make sure that we're always doing everything for the highest good. So with that, I said, okay, well, I just wanted to share with you that experience because the bed didn't just like break, it broke, like nails everywhere. Pieces of the bed went everywhere, like it was wild. So it was just like such a clear symbol to me that we are not meant to be doing Reiki that day. And whenever anything happens that is a little wild and crazy, I like to share with Lois. So I do often send her emails and just to little story times. Guess what happened, Lois? This was all before the podcast started. So I still do tell her, and those stories also become podcast episodes. So that is the story that I wanted to share with you about what happened when I was doing a Reiki share with a friend and how it turned into a channeling together session. I don't even know what we would call it, but it was a super cool experience for both of us. And we both left kind of being like, whoa, like it worked. And we weren't really expecting anything. And we didn't know that you could even drop into the same meditation together. But it makes sense now because when I go to different mentors and when someone's helping me, the prompt I get is always, okay, and what else do you see? Okay, and what else? And they always ask you the questions so that you come to the answers yourself. And it's just like the smile that you get when you hit the right answer or you hit the answer that they're looking for. It's like, ah. So for a moment, I got to be that person for my friend, and it was really cool. And I knew the goal that she needed to just trust herself, and that it ended up becoming that. So it was really a special experience for both of us. So thank you for listening to today's episode. I hope you learned something about different ways that energy works. There's so much to know about Reiki and energy and mediumship and channeling. It's a whole nother world, literally, that we can continue to learn about. So I'm really grateful when different experiences happen to me because it helps me grow my tool belt and shows me different things that I can learn or dive into or be interested in so that I can continue to grow my craft and grow how I can help others. If you are new to the podcast, please press subscribe. Every Tuesday, I release new episodes and they will pop up in your library. And if you're using iTunes, I would love a rating and a review. It just takes a few moments of your time. If you scroll down to the bottom, you can just leave 5-star rating and a quick little review. It really helps me out in the podcast world to help other people find me. And that's how the podcast grows. So I really appreciate you taking the time to do that. If you would like to stay connected with me, you can find me on Instagram or Facebook at Medium in the Middle. And I am working on coming to YouTube so that you can see my face, tell all these stories. I really want to make energy and mediumship relatable. And I really do believe that if people can see my face telling these stories and talking about my experiences, it'll be more real and more relatable. So stay tuned for that. It's coming. I have more time during isolation to work on it. So my goal is to get my YouTube channel up and running. All right, everyone. Until next week, I hope you have a wonderful week. And I will see you all next Tuesday. Goodbye.